name is Maia, and I'm here with Archie the JR Archivist at the New York State Archives in Albany today with Brian Keough, the New York State Archivist. First of all, what is an archivist?
Well, being an archivist is a big job. We work with records, and records are things like documents, maps, films, photographs, even computer files. And the archivists that work here at the New York State Archives have 5 main responsibilities. First off, we preserve records, so it's our job to find the best records and make sure the records will last for a long time. Second, we organize the records in a way that helps people understand them. And often records are organized by person, by family, or by organization. Third, we describe the records in a way that researchers can find them, and we provide access to researchers who come here to the archives. We also manage the records of our archives, keeping track of things that we have and deciding which things to add both in the building and to our website online.
Wow, that sounds like a lot. What made you want to become an archivist?
Well, when I was a kid, it was cold, and so I would go to the library a lot, and I would read a lot, and I would read biographies, and I learning and reading about new things. And for history, there's always something new to learn. So I also enjoy holding original documents, one-of-a-kind, rare documents, and it's just the best thing to experience. It's like holding a rock from Mars.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Probably my favorite part of the job is that knowing people come into the archives and are coming here to do historical research about New York State. And you're probably wondering, how does someone become an archivist, right? And archivists need special knowledge. They need special sorts of education beyond the high school level. College education, master's degree in fields like library science, history, political science, public administration, and many people work in the field for a while and also have PhDs in history or other related fields. So it's important to get your college degree in a related field to become an archivist. And while you're in college, get an internship or get some kind of job in an archive so you can gain some valuable experience.
What's your least favorite part of the job?
Well, I love my job so much that leaving is probably the worst part of my job each day. But I know that I get to come in the next day and continue this wonderful work.
You must love being archivist a lot. What is your favorite record in the New York State Archives collection?
That's a great question. We hold the records of the Dutch colony of New Netherland that goes back to the early 1600s. And the area of New Netherland encompassed parts of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And New York City during that time was called New Amsterdam. So we have all of the records of the government functions as the colonial government, their interactions with indigenous communities such as the Mohawk, Mohicans, other indigenous groups that were living around New Amsterdam prior to the Dutch coming here. So probably that period of the early 1600s is a really interesting time because there's a lot of different people and communities that are living here and interacting together.
Wow, how many records are there in the New York State Archives?
Well, there are a lot of records. There are over 270 million records, and as I said, they go back to the early 1600s.
How do you decide what records are added or removed from the collection?
Well, the State Archives works with local governments, we work with state governments, and we help them to understand what they should keep and how long they should keep them for. So we create something that's called a retention schedule. And the retention schedule has the type of record and the minimum time the record needs to be kept. So people working in local government and state agency government can make sure that we preserve those important archival records for future researchers.
How can students like me see the records that are kept in the archives?
You can go online and to our site, considerthesourceny.org, and there are actual documents that have been scanned from the archive, and you can view them freely online anytime that you're interested.
Wow, that's so cool. How far back in time do the New York State Archives go?
As I said, they go back to the early 1600s when we were New Netherland. So that's pretty far, over 400 years.
Wow, that's old. Can you tell us a little bit more on how you conserve records so they'll last that long?
Sure. So all historical records are precious, and they deteriorate, they become brittle, photographs fade, book bindings deteriorate and fall apart. So one of the most important things is keeping your records in a controlled environment in a storage facility. But even if you kept the records in a room that was cooler and stable, those temperature and humidity controls are very important to the longevity, the long-lasting nature of the records, because we want to keep these for many, many hundreds of years. Other things, exposure to light. Obviously, we don't want records to get wet. We have fire suppression and fire alarm systems, so the records do not catch fire. So all of these kinds of things that we do, temperature and humidity control, avoiding light, keeping them in boxes that are not made of any toxic or chemicals in them, help preserve the records for long periods of time.
This is also interesting. Is the New York State Archives the only archives in New York State?
No, there's different types of archives throughout the state. There are places like historical societies that tell the history of your local town or your local city or county. There are many religious institutions that keeps records of their memberships going back hundreds of years. One of the oldest churches in the region is the Dutch Reformed Church, again, when New Netherland was here. And so they have records about that time period. You also have archives that collect records on a particular subject or a period of time or a certain business activity. So there's all different types of archives, large and small.
That's great. People all over New York State can visit archives to learn more about the past.
Yes, and you can become an archivist on your own. You can develop your own personal archive where you collect documents about yourself or about your family. So you can collect photographs, documents, anything that tells the story of you or your family. So you could start your own personal archive when you go home.
Really? How?
You could think about your family history, talk about parents, talk with grandparents and parents about what's important to your family history and whatever documents they have that tell that story.
That sounds like fun. Thank you so much for letting us have the time to talk with you today, Mr. Keough. We learned a lot.
Thank you,
I'm so
Maia.
sorry.